Well, good evening and welcome to the 2019-2020 Bacup Borough Football Club Presentation Awards. Of course, we would have liked to have been doing this in different circumstances, live at the sports bar, but due to the current situation, we are on our YouTube page, and I'm happy to say joining us at the club is the manager, Brent Peters. Good evening, Brent.
Good evening, Steve. Are you okay?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you feeling at the moment? All right?
I'm feeling like I'm in a lockdown situation. I'm locked in a lockdown situation.
I know it's not great, is it? But we wanted to get these awards on because it's. I know that you feel it's very important for the club to be appreciating its players for the service that they've given during this campaign.
Yeah, I mean, normally under normal circumstances, and we'll still do it under normal circumstances whenever this lockdown gets lifted. I mean, we all know that leisure facilities and probably football at our level is going to be one of the last things I would imagine to be lifted. But once we do get it lifted, I'd like to think that whoever the winners are this evening will do it properly and have a bit of a really good shindig and celebration in our own bar. But we usually class this. It won't. I mean, tonight for tonight's benefit, it is for the players. But normally we class this as I don't usually isolate the players from the old club. In normal circumstances, it would be a club presentation because I feel that whilst the players play a prominent part on the pitch, it's important we recognise everybody that's played a part behind the scenes at the football club. You know, you've got to remember, the players are only one proportion of our football club operates.
Yeah.
So, we have to pay, our respects, and we always do it at Bacup Borough. So, we always would award the person that stands on the gate to the person that like kind of marks the pitch out, to the person that puts the kit out, to the person like all the girls that work in the hospitality, to people that like yourself who do the media. We recognise everybody, and even. We wouldn't be able to have a football club if we didn't have such wonderful support and wonderful backing from the business fraternity. So we normally would do it as a club presentation, but under these circumstances this evening, we will just do a proportion of it, which is just the players' part of it.
Excellent.
But I would like to go on record as saying thank you to everybody. You've been in damaging circumstances and everything. You've been absolutely terrific.
Yeah. When you carry out these, because this is the first one I've been involved with, Brent, how does the evening usually? What's the course of the evening? How does it usually go?
Well, the last couple, you know what, we've struggled to pull it together because I'm always one that I want everybody there. It's important because nobody knows who the winner is, and there's nothing worse when you're having an event and you have an event and the winner isn't there to collect the trophy because they're away on holiday or something like that. So to pull it together, and I'm not one that wants to. A lot of clubs do it, that they do it after the last home game, and just an handshake in the club after. We're not about that. I'd like to do things proper if I'm going to do it. If I can't do it proper, I don't want to do it at all. And kind of the last couple of seasons, because I haven't been able to do it proper, I've not done it at all, and that's the way it's been. But when we have done it, it's legendary and it's really good because we actually acknowledge all the staff. So what would normally happen? We've even ran it on a Sunday. So what we'd do, we'd tell everybody to arrive at the ground by a certain time. We make it a family affair as well. We don't want it to be lads being lads and coming on their own. They have to bring the partners, the girlfriends. And in some walks of life, in modern day, they can even bring the boyfriends because that's the way it is in this day and age, isn't it? Yeah. So we expect everybody to, to bring the partners, to get involved. They arrive at a certain time, and then what would normally happen is we'd feed the players. And for the children, we put some children's entertainment on, because the ones who've got young families, we encourage that they come along as well. And all we say is when they've eaten, we go in, we have usually a form of entertainment, a live band, a live band on, and they'll do a few spots. So we'll have a warm up spot where they do a kind of a warm up spot. And then we'll go into the presentation, which can take some time, but it's not a boring presentation, because usually I come out, I kind of remember things that have gone on through the season, and I usually bring it back up so everybody has a bit of a laugh and a bit of ribbing one another. So we do that, and then at the end of the presentation, it's let your hair down time, a few drinks, and let's dance the night away. Unfortunately, we can't do that in this lockdown situation, but that's something we can look forward to.
Yeah, certainly. And we're going to rush it up a little bit tonight, because we are live on our YouTube page. And all that, I'm going to be talking to head coach David Felgate very shortly. I'm also going to be chatting to the captain, Lequan, because they've both got awards to give away this evening. But I just want to pick up on the season. How do you feel the season has gone for your young team? Because a very young side, and a lot of these players, Brent, cutting their teeth at this level for the first time.
Well, you know what? When you look at it over the season, and you look at certainly the first division, it's easy for these teams that's been up there and 7th and 8th in the league saying, "Oh, we're pushing." But as when you looked at over the season at the league table, 2 defeats for them at 7th and 8th, or 3 defeats, would drop them right down into the bottom part of the table. Equally, for the teams that are at bottom part of the table, 3 wins bound together could put you up at 7th and 8th. It was the tightest. I think somebody went on record as saying that the Division 1 North were the tightest league throughout the country.
I think it was Craig, wasn't it? It was Craig Kendall.
I think it were Craig. Yeah, I think it were Craig. So if you look at that, it's easy to look at the final placings and where you were when the league finished, and say, well, look, that's a disappointing position. But we'd still got plenty of games to play. We'd still got games in hand, and I was never concerned. I didn't think for 1 minute we'd be dropping below that line. I felt that we would be pushing on, and we kind of got everything together. We had a setback at the start of when you set your stall out as a manager, you know the squad you want to work with. You try to get people tied up as much as you can on contracts. You know full well that if you've got somebody that's scoring goals for fun, that the vultures are going to come in and try and throw the money at them and try and attract them, and that's always fraught with a problem. And it was a problem for us this year, because I set my stall out for Matty Bryan. I wanted him to, he's a great lad. He's been part of Bacup for a long time. We know he went off to Trafford, but he came back, and I really, really wanted him to be the flag bearer that would take this young team forward and score the goals. And he did score the goals at start. But then, because we hadn't got him tied up kind of thing, that's not my fault. I tried my best. Another team came calling. It was too good of a situation to turn down. And obviously he went, and we never really recovered for that. I relate that. I kind of relate that, for all those people who've watched that Sunderland Till I Die Part 2 series, and I watched Sunderland quite a few times on the build-up up to Christmas live. We obviously reached James being there, and I watched them, and I thought, these are well on course for promotion. These will get promoted. And then lo and behold, the club made a decision that were their own doing at kind of Christmas, where they actually cashed in on the player that went out to Marseille, and kind of the Will Griggs signing didn't really take off like it should have taken off.
No.
So that the wheels came off Sunderland. Well, I kind of think that's the same as, in some respects, that set us back, losing Matty Bryan. But you know what? When I'm getting, coming in September, I'll have been here 23 years, and I've got to say this, and we've had quite a bit of success in that time. But in all that time we've had success, I've got to tell you and be perfectly 100% honest with you, it was very seldom that I get emails of people saying, how appreciative they were of the football and how well we were doing. This year I have had emails after email after email complimenting this extremely young side playing in a demanding league for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was really pleasing for me, because I know, yeah, we weren't the real deal, we weren't the finished article, but on our day we were a team to be reckoned with. You've seen us, Stephen. You can kind of witness that. I mean, to go to AFC Liverpool as well, and we weren't even our strongest at a time when they were, flying, and it was a Friday night, and we had to make changes that night, but everybody stepped up to the plate, and we were really impressive.
Yeah, certainly. And I saw even before that in the home game, very narrow 2-1 defeat against Lower Breck as well. Really, really putting a good shift that evening as well, Brent.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you analyse and go back over the season, the frustrating part for me, and kind of probably Laquan and Dave Felgate, the head coach, and Dave Felgate's always touching on it. It's been our own downfall when we've conceded the odd goal we've conceded. It's been a wrong decision from an individual in a certain. I always go back to that game up to Cleator Moor, and we clawed our way back in the game, and we took advantage, and we were seconds away from 3 points, and the player in question, he has chance to make a decision to just put his foot through it and send it down as far up the pitch as he could do, and he didn't. He tried to take the player on in a difficult position. It took it kind of as he's taking a touch to take it past him, the lad got a lucky break, and then the lucky break, it ran kindly for him, and he smashed it, and the next thing, we've ended up coming away with nothing when we would have won the game. So and like kind of Dave has touched on in the past, we seem to concede either 44 minutes just before half time, or we concede in the 47 minutes just after half time, or just before full time. It was always kind of. Is that because they were young lads, and the mentally and the toughness and the concentration levels, they were fatiguing a little bit, and they were ready for a break?
Yeah.
That's where the sports psychologist comes in. But I don't know. But I know it was. We weren't a million miles away, let's tell you, and we've got a good bunch of young lads here.
Certainly have. So yeah, overall then, Brent, you was quite happy, really positive with the way that the guys applied themselves during 2019, 2020.
Yeah, we're always positive. I mean, the good set of lads, really good. They want to learn. Look, everybody has standards, and none more than myself, none more than Laquan, none more than Dave Felgate. Laquan, it's kind of probably been a bit tough for Laquan, because Laquan being a senior player, and probably the most senior player, and not many senior players in the team. I mean, at the latter back end of the season, when we brought Gareth Wager back, although Gareth only played 2 games because obviously the season going into a lockdown situation.
Yeah.
He would have been another a plus for us as an experienced lad on the pitch. But in the main, apart from probably Michael Gervin, and Michael Gervin only came late because of his work commitments. So Laquan really has been the catalyst of the senior, representing senior, the only senior player, and kind of he's kind of got good standards, like we've all got good standards, and frustratingly at times he's been really, really frustrating in certain things that's happened in the game.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's been remarkable with them, because he's got the right. I know, whatever goes on behind closed doors between me, Dave, and Laquan remains there, but to the lads, and that's what's important in kind of helping them, guiding them, and believing in them. He's been a great leader, and it's important. It's kind of important. Yeah, we had the right person to be the captain with such a young bunch, collective bunch. It's different when you've got big players in your camp, and you've got senior players in. you've got, it's totally different. These are a bunch of young players that for a long, like you've touched on, in a lot of ways, that were the first season at this level.
Yeah, really impressed. Well, I know that you're going to be coming back later on to conclude later on this evening for the manager's player of the year. But first of all, Brent, we're going to go through the players' player of the year. I have got the nominations. I'll put the nominations out because you have sent me the nominations, and then I'll come back to you and we'll talk individually about those nominations and also the overall winner. So I'll just give out the nominations now.
Yeah, just while you're giving out the nominations, I'll tell you what happens with this voting, so that they can't collaborate together and say, like, try and stick together to try and justify one player getting it. And because we do it how we do it, I think it's kind of the fairest way. I randomly sent a text message to all the first team squad, basically saying, by return, you've got to send your nomination of the players' player of the year. So they had really not got enough time. If I'd have left it for a few days and said, let me, what would have happened? The bong bong drums have been going, hey, Philip, who are you voting for? Are you voting for? Yeah, you know what I mean? They'd have been doing all that business. Well, to cut that out, I basically said, I need the nominations by return. And by doing that, we actually got a massively close vote. It was really, really close vote. But it was, I think, on the way the voting's gone, if you ask me as a neutral, because I'm not a player, I'm the manager, if you ask me as a neutral, I kind of I don't disagree with how the voting's gone. I 100% endorse it. I think it's, and I think the winner is the right winner as well. I think everything's been good on that front.
So if you just give us the nominations again, I'm going to put this graphic on the screen, Brent. Just read out the nominations, will you?
Well, the nominations. I'm not going to read Joel's second name because I'll get it wrong. I never call him I'll call him the French prodigy.
So we got Joel.
So you got Joel.
Ryan Siddle.
Ryan Siddle. You've got Oliver Carew.
Yeah.
You've got Captain Laquan Esdale. You've got Michael Gervin.
Yeah, and that's the nominations.
You've got Callum Hewitt. No, you've got Callum Hewitt. And that concludes the nominations.
And that's for the players'
player of the year.
Excellent. Well, some excellent players in there, Brent, and I know it was a close call. Would you like to give me those in reverse order, please?
Yeah, it was a close call. The voting was really close. So, in fourth place, well, we had a joint. These players got the same amount of votes. So, in a joint fourth place, we had Callum Hewitt and we had Michael Gervin.
Okay.
And again, in third place was a joint score where we had Oliver Carew and my French protege, Joel. Now, this is where it really got tasty, because this was really close, extremely close. In fact, there was one vote between the runner-up and the winner. And I've looked at it and looked at it and looked at it and recounted and made sure I've got it right. But look, I think where the voting's gone has been truly to form. Like I said, I endorse it.
Yeah.
So in second place, we have Ryan Siddle. And that leaves in first place, which I would expect, and it typifies what the players think of him. Was Laquan Esdale. So he wins the Players' Player of the Year award, and rightly so. Well done, congratulations.
Well done. Laquan. Thanks for joining us on a Monday evening for this 2019-2020 presentation.
No worries.
It's been a bit of a strange season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been strange to say the least. With obviously everything that's been going on off the pitch. I mean, you know, it was not the best way to end it. With the pandemic and stuff what's going on, and obviously we weren't where we wanted to be in the table. We weren't hitting our targets at what we set out to at the start of the season, but you know, I think it's just one of the things now where we just have to kind of regroup as a team and individuals and kind of just take stock and let what's going on in the world take precedence first, and then we go again next season, hopefully.
Yeah, because I was just chatting to Brent at the start of the show this evening.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you know, a lot of young lads coming into the side. You being the most experienced of the players.
Yeah.
It must have been quite challenging or difficult for you at times to kind of, I don't know, try and get the message across to the lads. Was it easy or?
Yeah, no, I mean, it did have its challenges. Obviously, going back to the start, even stepping into the role as captain, obviously I've been at Bacup on and off for years. I've known Brent since I was a young kid, and so when he asked me at the start of the season to be captain in pre-season, I knew it would be big shoes to fill because the previous captain before me, Adrian Bellamy, is someone that I've known for many, many years on and off the field. So I knew that obviously he did a great job himself, and that, you know, I was stepping up to a role. And then when I kind of knew the path that Brent was going with the young players, and because I've been a young player myself, and I knew that it would be challenging, but it's something that I really looked forward to every week. And I think it's made me a better player and a better person off the pitch as well, because I've had to deal with certain aspects that maybe I wouldn't have had to deal with if I was just another player as such.
Yeah, because we were touching upon the fact that, you know, it has been challenging, and you've probably had to be very patient with some very talented young players.
Yeah.
I mean, is that an understatement?
Yeah, I mean, because I've always stressed to the lads from the get-go that you only gain experience by throwing yourself in the deep end, and you can only say, you can only dine out on the fact that you're a young player or you're inexperienced for so long before you've actually got to step up and do your bit. Now, I was never expecting us to be world beaters, or because like you say, we do have some very good young players, but with young players and young people in general, it takes time and takes extra effort for messages to get across and to sink in, because brains are still developing, and you know, just certain things like cognitive performances isn't quite experienced as myself at 28. So I think at times when I was getting a little bit impatient, although I tried my best not to show it, it took a more experienced person like Dave Felgate, our coach, or Brent, just to pull me to one side and say, look, you maybe could have handled this a bit different, and then I would take stock from what they told me and then pass it on to the lads and just use it in that way going forward.
Yeah. So at the same time that they were, you know, learning kind of their first taste at this level, you were also learning yourself as an individual.
Exactly. I was learning myself because there was things there's certain responsibilities that you take on as captain that you, like I say, you wouldn't have to take on yourself as a quote-unquote normal player. And it, like I say, it did bring out the best in me. And also what it did for me personally is because I was telling these lads, right, we have to be at a certain level, we have to do X, Y, Z, then it made me then have to stick to that line as much and lead by example, because I'm not one of them that's going to go out and roar and scream and shout. I'll say my bit when I need to, but I like to lead by example. And I like to think I've done that, and I like to think that I did gain a respect a lot of the lads, because I do respect a lot of them lads, well, all of them myself.
Certainly have, because from what I've seen all season, Laquan, you know, you've been a tremendous leader, and that's from me watching you from the sidelines. I know you've got the captain's player of the year. Would you like to give me your nominations, please?
Yeah, well, when Brent put it to me, I was a bit surprised because I'd never heard of that nomination before, so I had a
No.
good think. I thought to myself, because we've done a lot of chopping and changing, I thought, who's really stood out for me in moments that we've needed them? And I think one of the lads that came to mind was Ryan Siddle. Ryan Siddle definitely came to mind, just due to his tenaciousness and putting his foot in. And yeah, he let himself down sometimes with his discipline, but he was a really good asset to play just behind, because he listened, he got on with the job, and he really got stuck in the trenches. I'd say my other nomination would be Joel. I thought, obviously, clear ability, some great match-winning performances, and although a lot of them were off the bench, for me, he changed games a lot, and he took games by the scruff of the neck at such a young age, and playing in a different environment, different country. And then my last nomination, I thought, I had a look, because I couldn't really think of any more, so I thought I'll throw Ollie in there, purely based on the fact that we've played next to each other. And he's played second amount of most games after myself, and he's a young lad learning at centre back, so I know what he's going through, and he always took advice on board, and even when he did make a mistake, he bounced back and tried his best. So those are my 3 nominations.
Because I've watched him play with you the majority of the season, and for such a young lad, how old is he? 17, 18?
I think he's 18, not long turned 18, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
He's done really well, hasn't
he? Yeah. Like I say, when I came back to Bacup the season just before last, he was just coming into the team, and you could the polar opposites of how he was then versus how he is now. He's always a quiet lad, but he plays, apart from like little bits in certain moments which you'll gain with age, he plays with an older head on younger shoulders, and sometimes I would be a little bit more harsh with him, because I expected a lot from him, because I knew what he could do, and I thought with certain players, certain players need an arm around them. Certain players need a little bit more of a rollicking to get more out of them. And I found with Ollie, if I gave him a bit of constructive but firm criticism, I could just see a fire burn in his eyes, and he'd win that next header, or he'd win that next tackle. So, like I say, it was a close toss-up between the 3, but those are my nominees.
And would you like to give us your Captain's Player of the Year, please?
Yeah, so my Player of the Year, after it was all said and done, would be Joel.
Excellent. So Joel is your Captain's Player of the Year. Fantastic decision there, Laquan. As you rightly say, the amount of times he's come off the bench, and I think what the word is with Joel is potential, isn't there? There's certainly definitely potential there. Definitely,
100% potential, and for somebody who, like I say, has come from a different country and is playing, I've done it myself. I played abroad, and it's not easy, especially at a young age, and I think he's got all the tools and all the attributes to potentially really go far in the game if he keeps his head down and keeps working.
I just want to add, Laquan, that congratulations for picking up the Players Player of the Year award. You must be delighted.
Yeah, I mean, buzzing. It's a good achievement, for your colleagues and your peers to, kind of give you a pat on the back, and all the hard work that I've put in throughout the season. On a personal note, they've kind of noticed that. And I mean, at times, there were times where I was thinking, am I doing the right things? Am I saying the right things? Because, as I said, it's my first time being captain, and quite inexperienced at the role. But it's really heartwarming, so to speak, that they've recognised my hard work and my consistent performances, and I'm glad that they've put me forward, and I just hope I can build on it next season.
Yeah, fantastic. Looking very quickly, thanks for joining us this evening. We haven't been able to get footage with you this evening. Something wrong with my computer. But as regards to next season, Laquan, how do you see it panning out? If there is a next season, we don't really know as yet, do we?
Yeah, exactly. That there what you've just said is massive. To be honest, Steve, I'm not even really giving it any thought. I'm still in shock of how last season ended, and obviously everyone was disappointed. But like I said at the start, things are happening in the world that do take precedence. But I think everything's just so much in the air and uncertain at the moment that I think it's just about taking it one step at a time and making sure that we've got everything else in order before before it's safe to actually go back and play football.
Yeah, certainly. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this Monday evening for the presentation evening. All the best, and hopefully I'll see you for pre-season.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to say that we're going across from Laquan now, across to head coach at Bacup Borough Football Club, and that is David Felgate. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Have you had a good week?
Busy, believe it or not, even though we're in this lockdown period. I've been given tons of stuff to do, so yeah, in the process of doing it all now. What
are you up to at the moment? I know you work, a lot of your work's at Liverpool. What are you doing at present? Are you working from home?
Yeah, we've been told to go nowhere near the place at the moment, so everybody's abiding by it, and basically the our sort of team managers basically gave us all tasks to do, and obviously with me being sort of an area coordinator of Lancashire and Greater Manchester, they've gave us tasks to do, and I'm sort of team leading a group of 6 lads from the Nationals. So yeah. It's good. It's interesting.
Busy. Just briefly, Dave, tell us a little bit how you thought the season went with this bunch of young lads.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I said from the onset to Brent that we're probably, because of the youth in the team, we would probably get a little bit of an interesting sort of like spin on it, to be fair. I mean, we're a work in progress. I said that to him, and Brent obviously agreed with it. There's some good kids in there. Or I say kids, and they are kids because generally you go for experience, but we had a sort of thought of bringing some young kids in, and obviously testing the water with some of them have come from the lower divisions, and obviously getting good reports from Dan with regards them. So give them a chance, because you never know, do you? That's how it all starts.
Certainly. Well, this is a new award by me. I've never known this award before. Head Coach Award of the Year. Give us your thoughts on a few of the players and the one that you've decided to go for.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a difficult one, because there's been some good performances all the way throughout. You talk about the 2 Siddle lads who've come in, Ryan and Kyle, who've come and adapted really, really well. And obviously it's that belief. I think what they generally needed to do, just look after themselves with regards, how can I say, talking to the referee or calming themselves down a bit, should we say, with regards to that. But they've come in and done well, to be fair. Obviously Ollie Crew's come in centre half and been steady, and obviously got injured near the end, but there's been a progression in his performance through the season. And obviously you've got our leader, you've got Laquan, who's been steady and stir fast all the way through the season. Just when I needed that one. He's
you better have to take that. That was Jurgen Klopp.
Was no, it wasn't. No, unfortunately, it wasn't. But there you go. And like I say, Laquan has been steady for us all season. Has been a true leader, to be fair to him. But the person who I'm going for really has, again, like we've mentioned before, they've come from the lower divisions, and no disrespect, they've come from the lower divisions and they've dipped their toe in, and from the day he came into to present, should we say, he's steadily performed, and he's one of those people that you don't notice, but yet you do notice with his performances. I think he's probably played maybe a couple of not poor games, but below average games in that sense, and he's always come over and spoke to me afterwards and asked why, and he's always wanted to know, which is, I think, is great. Which is, to be fair, a lot of them have done that. Hence, that's why they're a young team. So I'm gonna plumb for Callum Hewitt. I'm gonna plumb for him, midfielder. Simple reason is that he sort of epitomises what we want from a centre midfield player. He can get up and down the pitch. He puts his foot in. Great engine on him, and he's progressed through the season. And I think he's played, I think it's like 13, 14, 15 games or whatever it is. Can't remember now. But every game, I think there's been an improvement in him. So that's who I'm going to give it to be fair, Callum.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dave, for that.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll hopefully see you, well, fingers crossed, pre-season, if there is one.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. Let's just hope everybody stays safe anyway with regards to that.
See you later, Dave.
Cheers, buddy. Take care.
Well, Brent, thanks for joining us. I've had the pleasure of chatting to Laquan and David already this evening, and I know you're sticking around in the sports bar on your almost on your lawn. So I know Deborah's in there doing some bits and bobs this evening. But the final award of the evening, as I said, it's the first time I've done this. Is it always the manager's player award, the final award of the evening?
Well, I always think, listen, if you break them the awards down that we've concluded this evening, they're all important awards. You've got the captain's award. That's your captain, and it's his opinion of how he has seen how you've conducted yourself in games, and under his leadership. So he's made that award on how he sees that, and he'll have reasons why he sees that. If you analyse the player's player of the year, well, that's exactly the same. That's who the players recognise themselves, who's been probably the most outstanding player of the season throughout the season, and they'll have the reasons for doing that. And then in addition to that, we haven't done a supporters award this year because of technically it's very, very difficult to do a supporters award. I think if we'd have put it online and put it out there for the support, you'd have ended up with linking Mosley supporters or somebody else's supporters who know the player in question and say, "Oh, I vote for him," and he'd have got, and it wouldn't have been right. That so what we've done this year is we've done a coaches award, which I think is fitting because again that comes from a different perspective. It's the kind of, as a coach, I would imagine that David has looked at everything about coachability, taking on instructions, improvise, presenting them in such an attitude of everything. So he's kind of taken that into consideration. Now, from a manager's point of view, let's be honest, managers have got to make ruthless decisions. It's easy for me. I could turn around and say, it's the easiest for managers to go and pick a player that's been the most outstanding player all season. That's easy, right? But I think that there's other factors have to come in a manager's decision to get the manager's player of the year award. And other factors comes in is kind of, how has the player committed himself during the season around the club. How's he been with the supporters? How's he been with the staff? What's his discipline like in terms of in terms of in the team shape and playing on the pitch? How's he kind of been disciplined? Has he adapted to the team shape very, very well? Equally, you look at discipline in another point. You look at a player and think to yourself, how's his discipline been? Not only on the pitch in terms of within the team shape, but in terms of discipline in falling foul of match officials, getting sent off, bookings. It's all part and parcel of football, but equally you get players that haven't been booked or haven't been sent off. So all that comes into my thinking and my direction, and then obviously you've got kind of attitude in terms of how have they accepted decisions when they haven't been in the team, or when they've been named as a sub, or when they haven't even been in the squad. So there's a lot of factors come into the manager's player of the year, because it's like I said to you at the beginning, it's easy for me to pick a player. I could pick the best player that scored all my goals, who's been the best goal, been absolutely saving the goalkeeper, pulling off saves left, right, and centre. Best midfield player who's been aggressive. But you know what? When you're in a team and you're getting selected every week, right? That doesn't tell the true character of a player.
No.
Because you've been selected every week. The character of a player comes when attitudes can change, when they're not selected, when they're not in the first 11, when they're named as a sub, or even when they're not named as a sub. That is when you kind of can get the character or the true character of a player. Because if you get a player who's been Mr. Wonderful all season, banging goals in, scoring goals, doing the business, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, he dips in form and he's not doing what he should be doing, and then you have to leave him out, and you kind of leave him out. You could see a different side to that player because his attitude's wrong.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of aspects that I think about my manager's player of the year, and I don't always pick the player that's a standout player, because that standout player might have wrong attitudes in other aspects of his demeanour.
Yeah.
So a lot of things go into it. So it's kind of different to the award that Dave will have nominated, and kind of different to what Laquan and the players have nominated. There's a lot of aspects go into my thought process.
Yeah. Well, I know you've got a short list of nominations, Brent. Would you like to name those nominations?
Well, I think it's fair to say, the way that the season's gone, I could nominate, virtually, because they have been a good bunch of players. Let's get it right there. There have been a good set of lads. The difficulty is you have to break that down. You have to come down to breaking it down on certain factors. Now, I could turn around, so these are the nominees, and these are the players that have kind of come into my thought process. And I've had to think really hard on, the fact that they're in my thoughts and they're in the final few players tells you they're going in the right direction. But the reason why they probably haven't got the award is probably because there's a few flaws somewhere along the line that they need to improve on. So my first couple of nominees that come into the reckoning are the Siddle brothers. I think both of them have, in different kinds of way, on the pitch as players, different class. They give you 150% every game, right? Every game. Really good footballing lads, and kind of the only issue that we both of them have got with them, which in some ways away from the football, but in the discipline, they've still got that amateur mentality where something goes off in a game and everybody's around the players and they're fighting the world. They've got to get that out of the system, and that's something that myself, Dave, and Laquan are working with them on. They've got to get that discipline or indiscipline part of the game, out, because if they do, they've got a great future in the game. But both lads, they're tremendous.
Yeah.
Right. But the discipline does let them down for different ways. I mean, for instance, one of them, I remember Kyle were coming back from a situation where he'd been suspended, and when he were coming whilst he was away, the team had been doing well. The player in his position had been doing well. So, like we all know at Bacup, if the lads are doing well and we always say it's you that hands the shirt back. Well, if you're suspended, you've handed the shirt back. Now it's up to the lad who gets the shirt to keep it. Now I remember one situation that the lad took his shirt because he was coming, but he came back from suspension, and when the team were named, he's walking out the changing room. United were at home that day, and he's thinking, "Well, I'm not sitting on a bench. I'm going to go and watch United. I might as well." And Dave had to go and speak to him. Now that is kind of amateur league mentality. But we got in his head, we sorted him out, and fair credit to him, he did come back. But there's little things like that playing at this level and playing higher, he's got to understand and accept. But he has come into my reckoning, and so had Ryan, but for football, reasons. They have come into my reckoning. They've been, different class on the football pitch. And then we go on, and there's another two lads that came in, but they haven't been here for the season. There's Bradley Hancock, both local lads from down Whitworth, and Callum Hewitt. They come into my thought process because both of them, for different reasons. Take Callum. He's a Brent Peters player through and through, without a shadow of a doubt. He's 100% fully committed, full on, aggressive in the challenge, works his socks off, covers a lot of ground on the pitch. Yeah. I kind of love him to bits. Yeah. He's different.
I think what I've noticed as well, Brent, just watching him, is that he doesn't look out of place to say that he's come from the amateur game. He seems to have, gone to it like a duck to water.
Yeah, he'll flourish. He's a good lad. And again, I've got to give a lot of credit to my head of recruitment, Danny Jones, because Danny Jones has, he has a chance to go and watch these lads, and he told me about Callum, amongst others, and this is the importance as well. He knew exactly what kind of player I like, and he knew he wouldn't be out of place, and he isn't out of place, and he's done really, really well. But he didn't start the season with us. He's come part way through. As Bradley, he's another one, and he's come from the same stable. Plays a different position, but when I've asked him to move and go from a left-sided player, left full-back, or go into midfield, he's done that. Yeah. He's not bothered.
Filled them gaps.
He's conducted himself round. Both of them have conducted themselves round the club brilliant, impeccably. Two really, really good lads. And then you've got another lad that comes into the reckoning and shown great attitude throughout, which is Milo Ogden. But as you know, Milo's gone out to, with his jobs, taking him to teaching out in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
He come into the reckoning. Another good lad that's come into the reckoning, and we don't realise that he's the youngest player. He's the youngest, and he's been around the first team for a few seasons now. Last season wasn't his first season round the first team. He actually made his debut not the season before, even I think the season before that, at Stockport Town. He's defender Oliver Crew. Good lad, wholeheartedly Bacup Borough, fully committed. Injuries have kind of impacted him a little bit, but shown, good attitude. He's committed. He's committed on the pitch, committed off the pitch, wants to do well, wants to learn. He kind of, he might have upset Laquanan a few times, but I think that's just his, because only reason I'm saying he kind of might have upset Laquan, because Laquan's trying to give him the best advice he can as a defender, and I think I don't think he's meant anything by it. I think it's just all his demeanour. I think it's just how he comes across, and Laquan's thought he's been a bit kind of, is he answering me back?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But other than that, Oliver Crew, we don't realise just how many games he has played for this club, and at such a young age. And Oliver is, again, if he can stay clear of his injuries,
got a great future.
He's got a great future. And that brings me to Laquan as a leader. He's got to come into big contention, because this season we're always going to be difficult for Laquan. because of what we've touched on before. He's the captain of such a young team. And if we didn't have the right player, the right leader, it would blow the brains with some of the things that they do.
Yeah.
Because it's natural. But you know what? Lequan has been where these lads have been.
He's very patient, isn't
he? And it needs somebody very, very patient. And he has done well with them, and I've got to give him some mounting credit. And when Dave's not been available, and obviously due to the work load that I've got, he's always been on hand straight away to take take the baton and take on the coaching and everything part of that. So Lequan, massive, he's a big favourite to win this award. And then it brings me to another young lad that's his first season at this level in this club, and he's been with us from the start of the season. Done well, great attitude, love him to bits, absolutely love him to bits. A young lad called Alex Meller. He's a really genuinely good lad. You can play him, put him anywhere you want to play. I mean, he's not only played, up front for us, he's played in the hall, he's played, wing back, he's played in several positions, never faltered, always got on with it, shown really, really good attitude, scored great goals, some good important goals. I remember one of our best wins were against Chatterton. Probably one of the last game, I think the last game Matty Bryan played, we went on to score 5 in that game, and he opened the score and he got us going. Excellent lad. He's kind of again on the par with Lequan, really strong candidate too, because he's shown great attitude, really good attitude. And this might surprise a lot of people, my next one, but it hasn't surprised me because I'm very big on discipline. I'm very big on people because, look, from a manager's point of view perspective, as a manager, you can only pick 11 players, and you're always going to disappoint somebody.
Yeah.
You can name 5 subs, but you can only play 3. So in every game that you play, 2 subs are going to be disappointed because they're not even going to get a look in because you can only play 3. So again, I'm very big on a player's attitude and how they conduct themselves, and how they apply themselves at training. Do they miss training? Are they always at training? And my next nominee is Alex Lube, because Alex Lube came at the start of the season. He's had very little opportunity, not because of his lack of desire, his lack of how he can play. I think some of his lack of opportunities come because of the way that we started the season in our team shape, and he's kind of more of a you could play him in a wide position as a 3 or as a striker, or if you played with wingers, he plays a wing. But we kind of played at the beginning with wing backs.
Yeah.
And he's kind of really didn't, he's defensive. He's defensive. We needed to work with him on more of his defensive and recovery runs into the wing back role. But you know what? Alex has been around the squad all season. Some games, in most games, not so most, hasn't got on. He's been an unused sub. He's never missed training. I think he missed training once when he were ill, but it had to be a good. He never made excuses. Always there. He hasn't come and knocked on my door, which he'd every right to do. He'd every right to come and see me. Why have I not been playing? Why have I not got in that game? Which I know some players would have been doing. But I always knew he was there, and I always knew what he was capable of. And he, for me, has shown really, really what football's about. It's easy to give the awards to, in anything that somebody that's on a football pitch, flying, doing the business. But there comes a time where, look, is the guy who's on the pitch doing the business, is he an all-round, is his discipline good, is he on and off the pitch? This lad's got everything. He has got ability. He's got an honest demeanour about him. He's put up with a lot this year, not played a lot. And, you know what, Steve? I've got to say that a really a tough decision between Laquan, Alex, Mellor.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go for Alex Luber because I think he's been different class with his attitude, and it's been a difficult season for him.
Excellent.
But he hasn't given me an ounce of bother.
I'm just playing the nominations again, as you said them earlier. They're just coming up on the screen now. As you say, done fantastic all season, all these guys, and they're all coming up on the screen. The nominations for the Managers Player of the Year 2019-2020, and the winner, as you just told us, Brent. It's a good job I've got all the graphics on here. And the Managers
prepare,
got to prepare. And yeah, the Managers Player of the Year 2019-2020 is Alex Luby. He'll be happy with that. I'm certain.
Well, I hope so. Because like I say, credit to every one of those that was nominated that I've mentioned. But I kind of think that, you know what, a lot of other players would have been giving me grief all season, but he hasn't, and he's conducted himself impeccably.
Is it the professionalism which you're impressed with?
Oh, everything like that. I mean, look, I've always said, I've gone on record in the past, Steve, was saying here, you can't have a changing room of choir boys. It's never going to happen. You're always going to get streetwise. Look, I look at Ryan and Kyle Siddle. They're totally different characters. I mean, they're on the edge all the time. They're good lads,
yeah,
and they're on their edge. But kind of, I just want them and hope that they curb on the discipline side of things.
That controlled aggression.
Yeah, exactly. Because we need them. We need them more. We need them on the pitch. We don't need them off the pitch. We need them on the pitch. So you kind of, and then like I said about Kyle that day when he thought he had a divine right to come back and get his shirt back. It doesn't happen at this level, and it was a learning curve for him. And to be fair, he's stuck it since, and he listened to what Dave Felgate had to say. And then the other players, like we touched on, Bradley and Callum, Milo, Oliver Crew, they all come into it for varying reasons, and probably are unlucky that they didn't pick the award up. But I think it came down in the end for different reasons. Laquan, like I've said, Alex Mellor, he's in the same category as Alex Luber because he's played more games than Alex Luber, and he's done well when he's played the games. But he's kind of, it was tough. It was really tough between them two. Which one I actually, it would have been easy for me to pick Alex because Alex has played games.
Yeah.
But I felt, you know what, Alex Luby, I'm going to give it to because he hasn't played many games, but he's still shown that good discipline character of a lad that he is. And hopefully, he knows what we're about now at Bacup Borough. Well, they all do, and hopefully they'll come back a lot stronger, a lot wiser, a lot fitter, and they'll be ready to hit this ground running.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Brent, to work with you this season. It's been a pleasure as well to present this show with you on a Monday evening. Anything to conclude?
Well, I'd just like to say a big thank you to all my staff, my backroom staff, my captain, Laquan, my coach, Dave Felgate, different class, very committed, and his sessions have been, as I'd expect from an ex-professional. I'd like to thank all my, the supporters who's come through the gate, through thick and thin. I'd also like to thank my backroom staff. When I talk about backroom staff, I'm talking about Colin on the gate, Deborah doing all the hospitality, and the other girls that have helped Deborah with Deborah. And finally, not finally, I'd like to thank our sponsors, our partners, people who stood by us financially, especially our president, who's been different class with us, Edwin Crook all season. And I'd also like to thank yourself, Steve, because your professionalism and organisation and the way that you've taken the club and the sports bar to a certainly a different platform. So I thank everybody. It's been a great. It's been different. It's been frustrating. It's been ecstatic at times, but it had a bad ending for us all, for every club out there. And hopefully we can get this sorted out and we can soon get the show back on the road.
And let's hope Sean keeps moonwalking across that dance floor.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Sean. Well, who can forget about Sean? He needs to keep moonwalking.
Your kit man.
Listen. At the end of the day, and I've just got to say this, and this is a serious point. When I read on social media, because he's got a dream and he's chasing his dream, which he is chasing his dream. He wants to be a showman. He's worked hard to be like Michael Jackson. And he believes, but when he's getting he's working hard, and when he gets ridiculed on social media, some people need to get a life and sort their heads out, because stop bullying and trying to bully. That lad's got a dream, and he needs to chase his dream, because you never know where it'll take him.
Brilliant way to finish, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Steve. Keep safe.